Yeah, I think it's kind of been there since the announcement, and it's always been there. And obviously, the focus is intensified as the tournament approaches, the kind of the various reasons that are surrounding it and things like that. And I don't think they'll go away, even when the football kicks off and people will watch the games. And the kind of the 4 games a day, people will still get involved with any other tournament, as they would usually do. But that's always going to be there, and there's going to be kind of questions that surround it afterwards as well. I don't think this is ever going to kind of go away, particularly for FIFA. It's kind of the variety of issues that are there, the whole timing of the tournament, just everything about it has made it probably one of the most uninspiring World Cups that there's been in a long time. So I think even though kind of the pages will be dominated by the action and things like that, those questions will always be there. And even when the tournament kicks off, you can't really see this going away.
Yeah. How then, as a football fan, do you feel kind of as the tournament starts? Because I know from my perspective as a football fan, I before any international tournament starts, I'm always buzzing, ready for it to start and excited. Do you feel the same, or do you feel like that's been kind of dampened a little bit?
Yeah, it's not a normal World Cup, is it, for anyone? It's something that I suppose when it comes, and from a purely footballing perspective, people will get excited for. And I think I'll get excited for when you're watching all the games all of the time. It's just the fact that the Premier League finishes on Sunday, and then a week later you're playing a major, the biggest tournament in world football. So it's kind of utterly bizarre timing on that as well. It's the build up as well has been kind of rightly so dominated by the issues that surround the tournament itself, and that's what people are focused upon. And yeah, for a whole host of reasons, it's going to be kind of a tricky one. It's not your usual tournament for people to get excited about, but kind of when the action begins, I think people will start to get a little bit into tournament mode there. But yeah, it's absolutely nothing like what we're used to.
No. But if we do start to look at the football itself, then obviously we all want England to go and win. We got so close in the Euros. We could taste the trophy. What do you make of England's chances going into this tournament?
England have had kind of a huge few years, haven't they? Obviously, 2018 surpassed everyone's expectations. 2020 or 2021, the Euros. Again, there were the heightened kind of expectations for the team, but they did go beyond that, got the final, and obviously penalties was the way they went out in the end. It's a talented group, and it's a very likable manager. And Gareth Southgate as a person, you kind of really like someone like that leading your national team and setting the example. And it's particularly in the midfield and attack set areas, it's a very talented squad. England's problem is, I should say, that defensively there have been the issues there that no matter whether you make a 4 or a 5, whichever Southgate prefers to do, and I think we'll probably see the back 5 utilised more later in the tournament if they go that far, that whatever kind of lineup you make, it's not matching what you're getting at the other end of the pitch, which is a world-class attack, one of the best strikers, if not the best striker in the world, and Harry Kane up there. And you've got a back 4, back 5, where the majority of it are players who aren't struggling and not really playing too much for their club. And that's going to be their undoing, particularly when you look at some of the teams they could come up against in the knockout stages. But they're going to be confident. England have every right to go to the tournament confident. And I know Gareth Southgate has kind of said recently there's a cluster of 8 or 9 teams that could win it. And he's kind of right. The tournament's very open, and England are a part of that. But they are going to struggle. I don't think the kind of almost feel-good factors there as it was going into previous tournaments, and the Nations League campaign that hasn't really helped. But they'll be confident. I think just the way it's working out, that it's probably going to be about a quarter-final exit for this team, which there'll obviously be the questions that come with that afterwards.
Yeah, there was a lot of talk, as there always is, but seemed to be particular going into this one about the squad selection and who would make the final squad. A lot of talk about, would James Maddison make it? Would it be would Callum Wilson get in there? Now that we know the squad, they're there. Who do you think, if England have got any chance of going all the way, who do you think is that one player that's gonna be the one that could make the difference?
Yeah, I suppose the nice thing for England was the main debates about the squad were kind of backup players. You mentioned James Maddison there. It's great that he's got the He's been rewarded for his great form of a place in the squad, but ultimately he's probably not going to start. And the likes of Callum Wilson, who they chose as the backup striker, is going to be that unless there's a situation in the third game where they're already through and they want to rest some legs for the round of 16, Kane's going to play every game. He's got individual targets to go for as well. I mean, Harry Kane, the player that we mentioned there, is going to be absolutely crucial. His goals are going to be vital for a team. Raheem Sterling has an international mode where, regardless of club form, you always can trust him to perform for England. And to an extent, Harry Maguire as well, who has obviously had huge questions that Manchester United has dropped out of the team. Ultimately, his form for his country, and this brings in the whole picking players on form and things like that, but when he plays for England, has been a very reliable player. I think for me, the one player who could potentially star, especially with the injury doubts and problems that Calvin Phillips has had, is Jude Bellingham. Phillips and Declan Rice were the set pairing of midfield in 2020 or 2021 as it was. That on paper, that was a midfield pairing that you just did not like at all. And as it turned out, it was the best thing for England in that entire tournament, that they were completely set and they have to start every game and they work really well together. So for Jude Bellingham, who's been in sensational form for Dortmund, just kind of at both ends of the pitch, really, but his eye-catching element being the goals that he's contributing as well, that Jude Bellingham can come in and really have that important role to play, his position on the pitch, but knowing as well how key the Phillips-Rice partnership was for England and how well they did in 2021, and a large part of that being down to that Bellingham's going to have to come in and replicate that. And if he starts well, even when Phillips is fit, you imagine that he's going to hold down that place, and it'll be testament to how well he's performed. So I think Jude Bellingham, just his important role within this side, if he is going to start, he's going to have to perform at high levels, and the way he's been going, you'd be backing him to do so.
Yeah, absolutely. One thing that is quite different, well, another thing, I guess, that's not quite different about this tournament is going to be the heat that it's going to be played in. How big of an impact could that have on England's chances?
Yeah, England always typically struggle in the heat, right? It's not a very hot country. I think that's going to be potentially even more so this time, right? Because of the timing of the year, and as basically it sounds, we've been playing in winter football for a while. We've had really kind of no preparation time to this tournament whatsoever for any team. So England, especially coming back off a Premier League week, they'll go straight to Qatar as they have done and try and train as quickly as possible. But the fact that they're in Group B and they play very early in the tournament, for England, you'd love to be a Group H or a Group G, who you've got a few extra days to prepare and get used to it and acclimatise to things like that. So it's going to be difficult, but then I think a lot of nations are going to be in this picture. So England aren't exclusively there, but it's probably the one tournament that you wanted serious warm-up time for one of those reasons. So it's going to be a factor, but they're definitely not going to be alone on that. And especially some of the European nations might take a bit of time to adjust to it.
Yeah. Which nations do you think it's going to favour?
Oh, tricky one. I mean, I suppose anywhere that's hot, right? Anywhere we like to go on holiday would be great. I mean, Brazil and Argentina are your two tournament favourites, and I think just conditions are probably going to play into their hands anyway, having already been in the situation of having probably the strongest squads, the most balanced squads, and being two teams that don't really have any questions about them that you'd put on the other nations that are kind of favoured in the tournament. So I think kind of a strong South American contingent that are going to go to the tournament anyway are probably going to benefit a little bit with this as well. So yeah, I think it probably plays into the hands of the likes of Brazil, who don't really need any more helping hands at the moment.
Yeah, you kind of hinted at it there. I was going to ask, my next question was going to be, if you had to pick one team, so you've kind of given two, but I want to narrow you down to one. Who are the favourites?
Yeah, I mean, the long-standing favourites of the tournament have always been Brazil, but leading up to the weeks of it, I've kind of pushed towards Argentina. I know in terms of the bookmakers as well, they've been backed into second favourite. Their price is getting short and short, so a lot of people are going in to Argentina. Just everything about this squad is really nice balance to it. Obviously, you've got the Lionel Messi factor there as well in what could be his World Cup. That's going to be huge for them as well. They've got a very favourable group in Group C. They're alongside Saudi Arabia, Mexico and Poland. They would have loved that group when the draw came out. And for them, it's just everything about this team is right. I mean, the exciting thing for the neutral is that they'll likely meet Brazil in the semi-finals as well, which is a huge game. Semi-finals can always be better than finals. But for Argentina, you've got Messi, you've got Lautaro Martinez as well, a striker who's been in great form for both club and country. And then throughout the team, it's just a well-balanced squad who, of course, recent success in Copa America as well, beating Brazil in the final in that one. So Argentina are definitely going to be a team to watch, and we just hope they both win their groups, them and Brazil, and we're getting this blockbuster clash in the semi-finals further on down the bracket.
Yeah, absolutely. They're definitely two, as you said, two of the kind of bookies' favourites going into it. Who do you think could surprise us? Who are the kind of underdogs that you think could really shock people?
Yeah, it's tricky, isn't it? When you kind of talk underdogs and dark horses at a World Cup, that it happens at the Euros, obviously Greece being the big one, but just the kind of caliber of teams there. Here, you're getting the best nations in the world, the 32 best nations going alongside each other. I think Serbia, from a European perspective, are a fascinating team to watch. Bizarrely, them, Switzerland and Brazil are in the same World Cup group again for the second tournament in a row, which is an incredible coincidence for them. But this time around, they're a lot better prepared. A couple of years ago, a managerial change came in, huge overhaul in terms of the squad and the direction they're going in. And it's really reaped its rewards. They topped World Cup qualifying. They were ahead of Portugal, who could well be their round of 16 opponents if they get through the group. Promotion in the Nations League as well. They'll be playing in the top tier of that. And it's a strike partnership. Fulham's Alexander Mitrovic has been in superb form in the Premier League. Juventus's Dusan Vlahovic, who was linked with a big money move to Arsenal from Fiorentina, went to Juventus instead. That's a strike pairing that's going to probably rival and beat a lot of top nations at the tournament in terms of goals and form. And if they're fit and firing, that will get them far. And you've got a midfield, the likes of Milinkovic, Savic, doing very well for Lazio. You've got Filip Kostic as well, a really top playmaker on his day. It's just a squad that has a nice balance to it. They'll try and be aggressive. They'll try and play on the front foot. They'll try and make teams uncomfortable. I mean, they've got Brazil first game. Let's see how a big hitter adjusts early on in the tournament. But if you want kind of an outsider to follow, I think Serbia potentially could upset the odds, maybe reach the quarterfinal stage. But yeah, they'll be a fascinating team to watch from a European perspective.
Yeah, definitely. Some real like big hitters who play for some like top European teams in there, isn't there? So that could be a really interesting one to watch. You kind of talked about, Mitrovic and Vlahovic getting the goals. If we kind of look at individuals now, as we kind of wrap up a bit, who do you think, if you had to again pick one player who you think you could back for top goal scorer?
Yeah, tricky one. I mean, there are a number of contenders. I suppose one to consider, definitely, if you look at Argentina, who are fancied by many to go far in the tournament, people are going to look at Lionel Messi, but I would make a case for Lautaro Martinez. His strike partner has been in I think he's going at better than one goal every 2 games for his country. He got 7 in qualifying, which was the same as Messi, but the fact that 5 of those 7 came after they won Copa America in 2021, all in individual games as well. So it wasn't like he scored a hat-trick and bumped up his numbers that way. Has been a really consistent performer for his nation. Has done well at Inter as well, going just shy of a goal every 2 games for club leading into the tournament. So while he won't get penalties and things like that, of course, Messi's going to take that. But Martinez has shown that he's more than capable of doing so. And if Argentina are to go all the way, you imagine that he will have scored a few goals alongside it. And yeah, it's a favourable group. He'll get opportunities to score. So yeah, I don't think he's up there when it comes to the kind of big hitters and things like that, mainly because of Lionel Messi. But definitely Martinez for Argentina is a kind of name to consider.